Terima kasih Yang Berhormat Menteri, dan I don't know whether this is a privilege of being involved in planning for so many years and now into project execution. My personal observation when it comes to this planning process for this, any RMK for that matter, is not only the process is complicated, but it is time consuming. If anybody dare to calculate the man hours involved in this man process, I think the man hours could even be more than the man hours in the execution of the programs and the projects. All right. I look at the slide just now, for example, on the governance structure. The governance structure remain as it is for so many years. The process, IAPG, I can even memorize it, and we have so many IAPG. Imagine to attend this IAPG and the agencies involved, and you want to hear the feedback from the state. The feedback from the state when it comes to this IAPG will be diluted. Kadang-kadang some of these IAPG meetings overlap. Itu baru IAPG. Alright. As you rightly mentioned in your speech, maybe we have to relook at the whole thing. You know, why can't the state be given the empowerment? Datuk Seri Dr. Abdullah is sitting there. A bigger empowerment to come up with a plan. But you give us, of course it has to be aligned with the vision, aligned with the aspiration of the federal government. You set the KPI. That will make the planning process smoother and state participation to be more meaningful. That's one area. Another area is, this is a perennial thing. Selalunya the central agency, dulu you call yourself EPU lah, EPU Malaysia, sekarang Kementerian Ekonomi lah. Selalu dia come up, they say that you must have land first before you come up with the plan. Tapi dekat Sarawak ni, in order to get the land, you must do the planning first, because you have to get the approval, you have to acquire the land. There is a land court procedures that you have to observe. So this is where we are caught. Macam mana ni? Dia nak suruh kita ada tanah dahulu, tapi dalam kita punya prosedur, tanah tu perlu dipohon. So I believe if some of these teething issues can be tidied up, I am quite confident that the way forward for RMK 13 will be much different as compared to RMK 12 and the rest of the RMK. Even your thank you lah Dato' Zul tadi, even you punya briefing note pun very comprehensive. Baru briefing note, saya percaya with that approach your planning ni akan tebal juga. You can't avoid it. Thank you so much.
Thanks Dato'. Ialah saya presumably kita ada banyak di kalangan kita in this room who are planners. I have both the privilege and the curse of spending a considerable sum of my career in private previously and public sector in planning. So my view about planning before this, for example, planning for upstream for Petronas, or I used to do planning for petrochemicals. There is always the yin-yang love-hate relationship between the central planners, which are us dekat Kementerian Ekonomi, dengan di first dengan di the next layer punya planner, sama ada dekat sub-unit ataupun dekat different organisation structure, and also the stakeholders. So the fine balance tu is always a big challenge, because if we don't include everyone, then we will be accused of not including or not entertaining, or there's no engagement. But as Datuk rightly pointed out, if only people know the number of agencies and stakeholders that Kementerian Ekonomi had to go through every year, I mean, actually stop short of die standing sebenarnya lah to go through all this. So ideally I would like to see going forward, and that's why RMK 13, we are trying to slowly change some of the even planning process. I would like to see that, as I mentioned tadi, that we move away from the traditional comprehensive central planning kepada a more agile, bite-size, that is more responsive planning. If you look at how this administration has managed policy document, we have not come out with a Bible yang tebal daripada awal. If you look at every single thing that was released is actually a sectoral, quite concise document. The energy transition roadmap is very specific. It lists down the project, is enough to give the direction. Then we don't have to wait to complete all the others before we can actually get into action. Likewise, rangka kerja ekonomi madani pun macam itu, NIMP, even as we go along. So I think we are, after about 2 years, we already gained the confidence that this is going forward. Although, albeit, we still need to do some kind of IAPG dan sebagainya, because politically and diplomatically, Datuk, otherwise less Kementerian Ekonomi, especially the minister, will be accused of being arrogant, of not consulting others. That's also the other side that we always have to manage that lah. But I do agree with you, and even sebab itu some of the structural decisions to simplify and to make it more effective, part of it is actually not even the planning process. Part of it is our whole philosophy, for example, managing development expenditure. So we have gone through a few rounds dekat Majlis Tindakan Ekonomi Negara about how to really reform our DE. Our DE process, some of it tadi, ucapan yang Mak Premier mentioned, we have gone through it in details. Again, it's about balancing. So I was mentioning to Datuk Sri, NOC, for example, among the first things we did within the last 15 months was actually to devolve and empower Kementerian to do NOC. The only NOC that comes to Kementerian Ekonomi is those that relate to cost increase or change of project scope. The rest of the administrative is actually at Kementerian. That should have expedited. So likewise, we were thinking like, okay, going forward, how much empowerment that we need to that we can give, and what kind of accountability that we can start building into a more devolved system for managing the DE more effectively, because DE process is part and parcel of the planning process. So if we get the DE process more agile, more bite-sized and more devolved, at least that's my view, then we can focus on the strategic high-level directional process for the RMK and so on. Sebab itu this RMK, we are trying our best just to confine it to just about 100 pages plus. Walaupun the issue is 10 times more complicated than what it was 10 years ago. But because we want to focus on the bulls and the radicals. The rest do whatever business as usual that kementerian or state has to do, you carry on. It's like, it's given that you have to do that. But what is it that really moved the needle or shake the foundation or build new basis, so these are the kind of things that we are experimenting now. The only part that we have to be careful about all this, to my view, and I have been experimenting here and there for the last 2 years, is always the unintended consequences. Jadi I can give you one example. We have simplified the process where local councils or states basically can apply directly to us very quickly for project kecil. These are the ones that do not need to go through the bureaucracy of budget screening every year, because budget screening will take 6 months. I mean, as much as I complain about it, I'm not the victim, they are the victim, the officers are the victim. You have to lock everything into the budget system in February. So the budget screening, it takes about 3-4 months before. So you imagine, budget setiap tahun dibentangkan bulan Oktober, habis kan. Yang itu budget untuk tahun depan kan. Tak bentang lagi budget tu sebab yang dekat Kementerian Ekonomi, dekat kementerian masing-masing bahagian pembangunan ni, dia dah kena plan untuk lock in the next year punya, sebab dia close in February. Budget lulus December every year, by February next year punya tu dah kena masukkan. So the e-project process as it is already very long. Sebab itu kita bagi some shortcuts, yeah? But what we discover is this: while we can debottleneck in terms of the approval, budget allocation semua kan, then we have a problem at implementation pula. Sebab then we have a big gap. Ada yang agensi ataupun PBT ataupun pihak berkuasa yang dia dapat bajet banyak gila, tapi actually after 1 year kita orang garu kepala, because now we have another problem. Progress implementation is so slow pula kan. Jadi sebab itu I think we agree, I mean as lifelong planners, both of us obviously feel we are better off doing something else daripada day in and day out jadi ulat buku going through planning ni. So it is actually only people who have done planning understand, kalau kita buat planning dekat syarikat pun dah pening kepala, you nak buat dekat negeri, let alone you nak buat for the whole country. It takes so much of time. So I don't think anyone would disagree that we need to really do it more efficiently. But sebab itu I don't believe in coming up with A to Z of how to do this. Actually we need to try satu, learn, okay, there's certain things that we did not see awal, then you fix a bit and so sebab itu there will be a lot of different ways of doing RMK 13. Contohnya kan, we know IAPG kena buat kan, tapi sometimes you go through berbulan-bulan IAPG, the ideas and the plan that come from bottom up is exactly what we have seen 5 years ago. Because basically the planning dekat kebanyakan usually like it's business as usual. This is what we want to be. 5 years we project. So you go through the whole process and time, you come up with the same thing. If sorry lah bunyi kasar sikit lah, if you had taken the last document, tukar-tukar sikit, submit balik kan. So kan, so for RMK 13 we want to impose a bit more of the top down. meaning that we are going through with Prime Minister. These are the very radical things that we have to consider, and if PM setuju and Cabinet setuju, we impose it to Cabinet and to Kementerian, irrespective of what bottom up and IBG cakap. If, for example, that works, that means that going forward, perhaps we do not need to spend so much time on the bottom up, going through the process, so that the bottom up process tu juga for the next round, through IAPG, through Kementerian, they can already see, okay, these are by 80-20 rules, these are the 20% that I need to focus that will give the 80% result that I want, rather than routinely going everything. So sebab itu, as a learning curve for me and my team dekat Kementerian Ekonomi, RMK13 is important and very experimentative. If we are able to do it well, then obviously after RMK13 akan dibentangkan Julai 2025, that will allow us to go back and check up, okay, this is some of the bit that I think, some of the facts, some of the processes that we will be able to simplify. So then most probably we can implement at the next midterm review. And but as far as the improvement of the DE process is concerned, actually we have done it even outside the planning cycle. We've got some decisions daripada M10, and I think we will do it in parallel, Datuk. But the whole philosophy is do it faster, do it simpler, devolve as much as you can. But when it comes to devolution too, then what kind of accountability that you need to put in place to make sure dia tak affect delivery and performance. So then I hope whoever becomes Minister of Economy or KSU Kementerian Ekonomi after this don't feel cursed every day lah, after we having to do this, because it does take so much time, and it's a big challenge for a politician, because Menteri Ekonomi is almost 100% planner with professional focus, because otherwise then you wouldn't be able to go through that process, because the process tu banyak kan. So I hope and we'll see juga how Sarawak does it, we'll see how other states does it, but we do intend to turn the whole process upside down. Cuma most probably it will take about this cycle and maybe another midterm review cycle, and then by next cycle buat 3 tahun, and then we can make it a lot more radical in terms of the process improvement. My time is up. So kalau ada satu soalan lagi, soalan Datuk Ismawi tadi dah kill all the other soalan. Ini sebenarnya saya dah set dengan Datuk Ismawi supaya dia tanya soalan yang hanya planners faham, and it turn off everyone else. Jadi I think kalau tidak ada soalan, and those who may want to have a question later, either you tulis ataupun you can always jump to the next one. Jadi saya ambil kesempatan ini, Datuk Seri, untuk ucap terima kasih kepada semua yang hadir. It's a big challenge for all of us, but I think it's also a very big opportunity. So the one that survives and the one that does better is always the ones that turn a challenge into a big opportunity. So that's I think something that we hold on to. InsyaAllah kita akan berjumpa lagi dalam sesi-sesi yang lain. Saya ucapkan terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera.